Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Capital G here, bringing you Kenrith the Returned King. And some of you might be wondering, hey, I didn't necessarily check out the video, but I'm pretty sure I saw this one in the feed about 2-3 months back. And that's true. Because I built this deck right before Ikoria preview season. Now, I've had to make some changes to it. And first, I'll explain the concept of the deck and then explain why I've had to make changes. So let's start with the concept of the deck. Of course, running Kenrith because he has all 5 color identities. And the theme of the deck is mono-white-ish. I say ish because many of the cards in the deck are hybrid mana cost, but white mana hybrid cost. So it'd be Azorius hybrid. It would be Orzhov hybrid, for example. So obviously not every card is hybrid, but every card that is hybrid is white and something. And the reason I built this deck was because of a podcast from Mark Rosewater. He was talking about how hybrid mana was designed to be an and/or mechanic. For example, if you're running Loris in Standard these days. If you're running Loris of course is Orzhov, and 1 generic mana. You don't need to play both colors in Standard to run Loris. You can run one color or the other. Whereas in Commander, with our specific color identity rules, you do need to play both. So, of course, because you need to have all those color identities in place to be able to play the hybrid cards. That's why I chose to run a Kenrith deck, mono white, and see how that build turned out. And it turned out to be a pretty fun build. Now, why did I have to make changes? Well, I was also running some, shall we say, mono white payoff cards, and one of those cards was Crusade. Crusade being one of the 7 cards that were deemed culturally insensitive and removed from the game entirely. So, obviously, I stand by the decision. I did not recognize the card being an issue. It's actually, when you come from a place of tolerance, when you're raised to be tolerant, accepting, and you work in a place where you interact with people from around the world on a daily basis, co-workers and customers alike, it's actually harder to see, shall we say, some of the more subtle signs, subtle images of discrimination. And in the case of Crusade, what I thought was simply a historical reference turned out to be a card that has triggered people in the past and present. So obviously, stand by with the community. That card has been removed from the deck, and I am definitely going to keep my eyes more open going forward, especially for my deck building. And for anyone who's not entirely sure what these 7 cards are or why, I definitely encourage you to look it up. It is not a discussion that we're going to have in depth here today. Again, coming from a place of tolerance and acceptance, I'm not really qualified to explain it all, shall we say. But I am qualified to talk about the deck that we're looking at today, so let us do that. So, of course, Kenrith the Returned King, 5/5 for a white and 4 generic mana, gives us a human noble with 5 different activated abilities, covering the entire WoBurg spectrum. And the coolest thing about these abilities is that you can use them use them to our benefit or to the benefit of one of our opponents when we deem it necessary to do so. So, for example, red, all creatures gain trample and haste until end of turn. We can do that for our opponents if we so chose, or we can do it for us. A green and 1 generic, I'll put a 1/1 counter on target creature, that's any creature. A white and 2, target player gains 5 life. If you need somebody's help, you can help them survive. They can also boost our own life total too, and we actually have a lot of synergy with this in this deck. A blue and 3 generic, target player draws a card. Possible win con here, believe it or not. And a black and 4 generic, Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under its owner's control. So lots and lots of cool abilities. Let's see how we use them in the context of mono-white hybrid. Let us start with our artifacts. So Arcane Signet is of course here. Taps for all 5 of our colors because our commander has all the colors in its identity. Chromatic Lantern for the perfect mana fixing. Once we have this, all our lands tap for whatever color mana we need. Running the Chromatic Sphere and the Chromatic Star. These of course combo with Loris very, very well. And as you might expect, Loris will be in here. We'll go more into depth on Loris shortly, but what's nice about these rocks is the fact that we only usually need 1 colored mana to activate Kenrith's abilities. So we can use these eggs in order to get those colors and draw additional cards. Commander Sphere, of course, tap it for a color, for any color that we need, and we can always sacrifice it to draw a card should that come up. Darksteel Ingot. This used to be more of a staple in the format. I chose to run it here because should artifacts get swept away, I would like to have at least one way to for sure tap for all my colors. And Darksteel Ingot is a great tool in that respect. One possible win con, Dragon Throne of Tarkir. We do have a token sub-theme in the deck. And so being able to seat the king on his throne and then give our entire board +5/+5 trample, or whatever his power toughness may be at that point. Because we definitely have ways of manipulating that. Felwar Stone again taps for our colors. Firemind Vessel, yes, it comes into play tapped, but it gives us 2 mana of different colors. Heartstone, this is here to reduce the activated abilities of creatures by 1 generic mana. And this is a combo piece, so watch out for that. Prismatic Lens, we can tap it for a generic mana, or we can filter a mana into it to make a mana of any color. And of course, Soul Ring. Going into our creatures and examples of our hybrids, let's start with the Azorius Guildmage. So, two Azorius hybrid mana. We can actually pay 3 mana and tap down target creature, helps more attackers get through. We can also eventually pay a blue and 2 generic to counter target activated ability. So having a way to counter activated abilities on board is pretty cool. Balefire Liege, it's a 2/4. It's not a really good rate for 5 mana, 3 Boros and 2 generic. However, it gives all our red creatures an Anthem effect. It gives all our white creatures an Anthem effect. Whenever we cast a red spell, deal 3 damage to target player. Whenever we cast a white spell, we gain 3 life. Spoiler alert, we are running all of the white lieges. Benelish Marshal is here for the Anthem effect at 3/3, and other creatures we control get +1/+1. The Boros Reckoner, whenever this is dealt damage, deals that much damage to any target. And also we can pay a Boros to give him first strike until end of turn should the need arise. Composite Golem, this is the key piece for combo. So of course Kenrith has that black and 4 ability, black and 4 generic, to be able to return creatures to our from the graveyard to play under its owner's control. So here's the combo. We sacrifice Composite Golem. We have Wooburg. We spend Wooburg, bring the Composite Golem back into play. Doesn't seem to do anything, except when you have your Heartstone in play, and it reduces that to a black and 3 generic. Well, then we get to accumulate a colored mana of our choice other than black every time we do this cycle. So usually we're going to keep blue mana and then activate the target player draws a card ability 100 times per opponent and have them draw out. You can also always use the green ability to make our creatures buff and attack in should somebody have a lab man out. So there's other ways to go about it as well. But that's how we would get infinite mana in this deck. And infinite mana means infinite activations, means win. So that's the plan. Krovax, Ascended Hero. Again, playing with our Anthem sub-theme. It's 6 mana for 4/4. Other white creatures get +1/+1. That's us and our opponents. Non-white creatures get -1/-1. Us and our opponents. The Composite Golem, by the way, is the only non-white creature in the deck. And we can always pay 2 life to return Kovacs to our hand should we need to dodge board wipe, or if our opponents are going wide with white tokens, we can have that option available to us. Deathbringer Liege. Again, this one's triple Orzhov, 2 generic for a 3/4. Gives the corresponding Anthem effects, and whenever we play a white spell, tap a creature. Whenever we play a black spell, destroy a creature if it's tapped. One such black spell, Divinity of Pride. So 5 Orzhov mana, it's pretty intense. Gives us a 4/4 with flying and lifelink, and it gets +4/+4 as long as we have 25 or more life. So we keep our life total up, and our commander can help us do that. The divinity itself can help us do that. We have a dominant creature on the board. Dryad Militant. Just 1 Selesnya mana gives us a 2/1, and if an instant or sorcery card would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, we get to exile it instead. Hey, we're not recurring our instants or sorceries in this deck, so no harm to us. Elesh Norn, obviously the most powerful of our Anthem effects. Being able to give our creatures +2/+2, giving our opponent's creatures -2/-2. Anyone who's seen an Elesh Norn across the table knows how dominant she is. Eternal Dragon is here for the plane cycling. Pay 2, go get any of our planes. Being a mono-white deck, most of our basics are planes. Most of our non-basics are planes as well, as you're going to find out. Evangel of Heliod, it's one of our 3 big go white token generators. When this enters the battlefield, put a number of 1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield equal to our devotion to white. So the Evangel has 2 pips, our commander has 1 pip. Our lieges have 3 pips each. And we do have creatures, as we've already seen, that have 5 pips. So, yes, we can generate a lot of tokens, and our lieges, of course, will provide the Anthem effects to make our creatures as tall as they are wide. Godhead of Awe, another example of that. 5 Azorius, it's 4/4 flyer. All other creatures are base power toughness 1/1. Of course, because of the Anthem effects are running, that means that our creatures will be bigger than anything our opponents have when the Godhead of Awe is in play. Knight of the White Orchid. If somebody's ahead of us on lands, 2 white mana says that we can go get any planes in our deck, put it onto the battlefield. Depending if we need to tap it right away, we just get a basic planes, put it into play, and we have it handy. If we don't need to tap it right away, we can go for one of our non-basic planes. Our choice. Core Cartographer does not have any sort of restrictions. It's just go get a planes card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle our library. Linden, our king needs her queen, or needs his queen, shall we say. And also 3 white pips, so great for devotion, 3/3 vigilance, and whenever a white creature we control attacks, we gain 1 life. There's the aforementioned Loris. We've talked about him a couple of times, but here he is again. 3/2 lifelink. During our turns, we can cast 1 permanent spell of converted mana cost 2 or less from our graveyard. We can bring back some rocks that get smashed. We can bring back our Chromatic Star, Chromatic Sphere, and get that card advantage. Some of our smaller creatures we can get back as well, although we don't have too many small creatures to be fair. But one such small creature is Medicine Runner. When this comes into play, remove a counter from target permanent. You can remove the last loyalty counter from a planeswalker this way. You can take out that annoying little Death Touch counter that one of our opponent's creatures has. Lots of cool things we can do with this. Need to get rid of a +1/+1 counter. This can do that too. Minister of Impediments. 3 mana for a 1/1, not so great, but hey, tap it to tap target creature. That I do like. The Noblesse of War. 5 Boros mana gives us a 3/4. With flying and attacking creatures we control, get +2/+0. Noble Templar. Here for the plane cycling. Might be able to bring him back later for the 3/6 vigilance. Not a great attacker. Excellent blocker with 6 toughness. Oversoul of Dusk. That's 5 Selesnya for a 5/5 with protection from blue, from black, and from red. This is going to be hard for our opponents to remove. Reverent Hoplite, the second of our 3 big token generators. Only 5 mana instead of 6. 1 less point of toughness. And we get a number of 1/1 white human soldier tokens equal to our devotion to white. Rise the Redeemed, another token generator. Obviously a little bit easier to get thanks to the mystery boosters. But once Selesnya, of course, gives us someone who's an awesome commander in their own right, of course. And gives us a way to generate green and white elf warrior tokens. So definitely loves being played with the Green Liege. Spite Mare is here as well. Whenever this is dealt damage, deals that much damage to target creature or player. Springjack Shepherd. It's a 1/2. This one uses Chroma rather than Devotion of White, but the effect is the same. When it comes into play, we get a 0/1 white goat creature token into play for each white mana symbol and the mana cost of permanents we control. Thaya's Lancers lets us go get a legendary card. As you can see, we are running some of the companions, and they're all legendary, and that's who we're usually looking for with Thaya's Lancers. Thristle Down Liege. That's 3 Azorius and a generic. It's only a 1/3, but we can flash it in and give our matching colored creatures the Anthem effects. Wiltleaf Liege. 3 Azorius, not 3 Azorius, but 3 Selesnya and a generic. Green creatures we control get 1/1, white gets 1/1, and with Tiny Bones, a lot of Tiny Bones decks are getting built now. So watch out for some discard effects because, hey, if they force us to discard the Wiltleaf Liege from our hand, we get to put it onto the battlefield for free. There's Yorion, 4/5 flyer. We do have a few creatures with ETB effects, not too many, but for those that we do have it for, cast our Yorion, blink our board. And we've got Zerda, the Dawnwaker. Zerda, of course, is another way to reduce the cost of our activated abilities, in this case by 2. We can also take a blocker out if we want to use Zerda's activated ability. 1 and tap to have target creature unable to block this turn. Lots of political shenanigans we've got with that. Rather than make the deck all about activated abilities and run Zerda as a companion, I like the idea better of keeping him concealed in the 99. Moving on to some enchantments. Some life gain synergies with Angelic Accord. Our commander for 3 mana can gain us 5 life and can do so at instant speed. Therefore, Angelic Accord is a great fit because we can generate 4/4 angel creature tokens at the beginning of each end step. So let's say commander in play, Angelic Accord in play, 6 mana on the board. Pay 3, gain 5 life, get an angel. Opponent's turn, pay 3 mana, gain 5 life, put an angel onto the battlefield. Armored Ascension. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each planes we control and has flying. Don't need to explain that one any further. Just the way we make one of our creatures really, really tall, very evasive, and dominating. Griffin Airy, same as Angelic Accord, although it's only at our end step where we would get the 2/2 flyer. Light from Within. This is one of the bomb cards here, because we have creatures, as we've seen, with 2, 3, 5 white mana pips. So with Light from Within, each creature we control gains +1/+1 for each white mana symbol and its mana cost. And this is an enchantment. This sticks around. So our Godhead of Oz all of a sudden a 9/9, for example, just with this. Smothering Tithe, of course, we want to have access to our colors, and Smothering Tithe has been proven to be the best way to do that. Our opponents draw a card. If they don't pay the 2 mana, we get a treasure. Treasure means colored mana for us. Going on to instants. Acolyte's Reward. Prevent the next X damage that would be dealt to target creature this turn. X is our devotion to white. So again, we have 3, 5, 6, 7 white pips. We block a big creature that's coming our way. Cast the Acolyte's Reward. And if damage is prevented with it, we get to deal that much damage to target creature or player. Cauldron Haze. How is this for recursion? Somebody boards wipe. Somebody goes for the board wipe. You can pay 1 Orzhov and 1 generic. Choose any number of target creatures. It could be our own. We can choose some of our opponent's creatures as well. And each of those creatures gain persist. They'll all come back to the board, yes, with a -1/-1 counter, but they're coming back. Fight as one. For one mana, definitely protect a couple of our creatures from a wipe. Target human creature we control gets +1/+1 and indestructible. Or target non-human that we control gets +1/+1 indestructible. Our commander is human. Most of our lieges are not. So there you go. Master Warcraft. I love this spell. This one is a blowout, especially against decks that want to attack. We get to choose which creatures attack this turn, and we get to choose which creatures block this turn and how they block. So it is nasty. Mercy Killing. Great removal spell because this one can get indestructible permanents, indestructible creatures. Target creature's controller sacrifices it, then puts X/1/1 green and white elf warrior tokens into play with X that creature's power. So, yeah, forcing our opponents to sacrifice one of their colossuses or sacrificing one of their gods. That's one way to do it. Orm's Thunder. So it's a 3 mana disenchant, which is not so great. Destroy target artifact or enchantment at 3 mana. Instant speed, of course. But if we manage to pay the red kicker on it, it deals damage equal to that permanent's converted mana cost of target creature. So this can 2 for 1, say an artifact and a creature or an enchantment and a creature. Sundering Grove. We have some tokens. Let's populate them. And let's destroy an artifact or enchantment while we are at it. Unmake. Exile target creature. 3 mana. Just that creature is gone. Wear and Tear. So wear, destroy target enchantment for 1 white mana. Easy, not necessarily the most efficient. But if we also have access to red, we can fuse the 2 sides of the spell. It specifically says fuse here. So we can actually cast both sides. And wear is a red and a generic to destroy target artifact. So 3 mana, 2 targets. Yep, I like it. We're gonna move on to our mana base here real quick, and then there's a couple of cards after that remaining. So City of Brass, whenever this becomes tapped, we take a damage, but it taps for any of our colors. Clifftop Retreat, we're playing all the lands that check for one of the matching land types, in this case a mountain or a plains. We are running 21 plains in the deck, so this is likely going to match up with the plains. And once it does so, we have a land that can tap for either of those colors that comes in untapped. Command Tower, of course, is here. Glacial Fortress. Godless Shrine, we're also running the shocks that are white and something. So in this case, mainly because of the land types. Guildmage's Forum, one of only 2 lands in the deck that doesn't naturally tap for colored mana. But we can always use it as a filter. So we pay 1 into the Guildmage's Forum to get 1 mana of any color that we need. And if we spend that mana on a multicolored creature spell, it comes with an extra +1/+1 counter. Hallowed Fountain, of course, that's the Azorius Shockland. Running the Triomes, only the ones that have the planes in its type text. But we are running them. So in that, the Triome is here. Isolated Chapel. Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx. White doesn't have a lot of devotion payoffs, I had noticed. There's a few that I'm running that are really, the only other ones are Heliod himself. So we have the two Heliod cards that reward you for devotion of white, and we also have, there's an Elspeth Planeswalker that does as part of her ultimate. It's one of those Planeswalker deck Elspeths. I didn't think it was good enough. And there's a couple of creatures that give you a lot of life for your devotional white. Didn't think those were useful either. But Nykthos, I mean, Pioneer staple right now, and for good reason. It is a powerhouse. There's our 21 planes. The Ragwin Triome. There's our planes that can tap for Jeskai colors. Reflecting Pool. Add to our mana pool 1 mana of any type the land we control could produce, of course. Our Boros Shockland, the Sacred Foundry. Savai Triome for our Mardu colors. Sunpetal Grove. Temple Garden. And that is our 37 lands. 1 Planeswalker in the deck with Kaya, Bane of the Dead. 6 mana to exile a creature. If we get to use this twice, then it definitely pays for itself. And what's also nice is that it allows us to target opponent's creatures with hexproof, as long as we have the Kaya on the battlefield, either with her ability or with some of our other spells. A few sorceries. Mythos of Snapdax. It's a white and 2 generic. Each player chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, then sacrifices the rest. However, if you ended up paying a black and a red as part of to cover the generic cost, we get to choose instead. So for 4 mana, we would get to choose what basically our opponent's worst things or weakest things, and our best things to stay on the board. Safe Right Quest. Let's go get any of our forest or plains cards. Single combat. Each player chooses a creature or planeswalker, then sacrifices the rest. Players can't cast creature or planeswalker spells till the end of your next turn. So yes, we're allowing our opponents to cast instant sorceries, artifacts, enchantments. In our case, we've got all of those. We can cast any of those things or activate our commander, so I'm not too worried about not being able to cast creatures or planeswalkers. Tragic Arrogance, same as the Mythos of Snapdax, except we get the choice right off the hop. It does cost 1 generic mana more, but a devastating board wipe nonetheless. And that is Kenrith, the Returned King. Version 2.0. With that in mind, folks, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you again soon. I am back to work next week, so videos might slow. Not that I'm very fast on videos, but they're going to slow down a little bit again because I'll be working 5 nights a week. It's good to get back to work after a long 3 months. So with that in mind, I am working on one commander from the Jumpstart set. Hope to have that for you soon. Until then, have fun and stay safe.